We're back for our daily college basketball best bets here on Friday, March 13th. We've got 3 more days of the conference tournaments here, of course, in the world of college basketball before real March gets started, obviously, with the NCAA tournament and the NIT and the college basketball crown. It was announced yesterday that the CBI is not happening this year for unforeseen circumstances or whatever. They didn't give a reason. Just randomly on a Thursday, the CBI got canceled. What? Okay, so there's only 3 tournaments this year, and now all of those really good or mid-major teams that were like 3rd best and 4th best in their conference will not get a postseason tournament. Again, I don't know why the CBI is gone, but that sucks. So we're down to 3 postseason tourneys now, but regardless, we've still got 3 more days of conference tournaments before the madness begins on Tuesday with both the NIT and, of course, the first 4 over in Dayton. Now, folks, before we get into our college basketball best bets today, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. The bubble continues to evolve in the worst possible way. This is the worst college basketball bubble I have ever seen in my life. I mean, legitimately, it may be. This is an awful bubble, but hey, Oklahoma's worked their way into the tournament now. Likely, so just another SEC team's going to get in. Auburn shouldn't be in the tournament, but I have a feeling that they're going to be in at this point, even though they lost yesterday and blew their lead to Tennessee. Miami of Ohio loses yesterday. There's no way they're a team, and there's no way they're even a first 4 team. They need to get sent immediately to the tournament. ESPN actually says right now that Miami is an auto bid, or well, obviously they're not the auto bid, but they should get in that large and have to skip Dayton. I hope that's the case, because that team has no business playing in the first 4. You go 31-0 in any season. I don't care you lose to UMass. You go 31-0, you need to automatically qualify for the tournament. So anyways, we've got a lot of games today with college basketball. Before we get into it, gonna hit that subscribe button down below for more. Yesterday, we hit on 2 dogs. We'll say that. We hit on 2 dogs. Miami hits in the morning against Louisville. We got that one. And we also had the late night spot with Cal State Fullerton cashing at plus 100 against the Aggies of UC Davis. The other games, North Carolina played very poorly for the final 5 minutes of the first half and the first 15 minutes of the second half. They made a comeback, and the Tar Heels got down to a 1-point deficit. Obviously, they couldn't hit the full court shot to win the game. Georgia just laid a massive egg, and that's my thing. I hate the SEC because all these teams sucks. What do you mean Ole Miss is still alive in the SEC tournament? Ole Miss is playing Alabama today? Are we dead ass? Okay. There's a chance Ole Miss and Oklahoma could play tomorrow in the semifinals of the SEC tournament. Huh? Okay, Georgia, you suck. You're horrible. Don't deserve to be in the tournament, but obviously they're going to be in. Their resume's not bad. And then, honestly, GCU, Nevada, hey, there were what, 95 combined free throw shot in that game? Vegas had their paws on it. Referees had their paws on it. It is what it is. Grand Canyon. I mean, every possession down the stretch for Nevada, foul, 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 foul. What are you going to do? It was actually absurd if you watched that GCU and Nevada game yesterday. So again, wasn't our best day, but we'll do better today, I do believe. Again, later today on the channel, we will have our NBA best bets. So go make sure to check those out or later in the video, or later today. And then also on Greedo Plays MMA or UFC Fight Night, Emmett versus Viejos. Full card predictions. We also posted our best bets yesterday for this card, so make sure you go check those out if you have not yet. Okay, on to the first now of our 5 best bets for today. And we're going to kick things off in the SWAC with Prairie View A&M and Alabama A&M. And again, SWAC tournament action here. I'm going with the Prairie View Panthers to continue this underdog run, or the Cinderella run, we can say, through the SWAC tournament. And I believe they will survive yet again and defeat the higher-seeded Alabama A&M Bulldogs. So yesterday, Alabama A&M defeats Texas Southern in overtime. Competitive game, obviously, but the Bulldogs pull away in OT, winning it by 11. That was their, obviously, first-round matchup in the SWAC tournament. As for Prairie View, they've been around this thing for a minute at this point, right? Came into the tournament in the second round, beat Alcorn State. They then got to play Bethune-Cookman, who was the number 1 seed in this tournament. Prairie View wins, and now they get Alabama A&M. Again, we've talked about this through multiple different tournament formats. Again, the Big Sky is a prime example of this, and Idaho rode that all the way until, yes, an NCAA tournament berth this year. The Vandals are going dancing. It's crazy, but if you're able in a tournament like the SWAC, a tournament like the Big Sky, if you're an 8 seed like Prairie View, and okay, yes, you have to play, the day they played was March 10th. They had to play, what was that, Tuesday? Yeah, they had to play on Tuesday. had to play on Tuesday, then you go and play the 1 seed on the second night of your back-to-back on Wednesday. They dethrone the number 1 seed in Bethune-Cookman. They take down the Wildcats, and now that you beat them, you get the perks of what the number 1 seed is supposed to get, and that is not having to play the day after and getting a day in between, your quarterfinal and semifinal game. And if you win in the semifinals, then you go obviously straight to the championship game, obviously. So they got yesterday off, while Alabama A&M had to play, an earlier game, but still an overtime game and a tough matchup against Texas Southern, which they survived. But now, second night of a back-to-back, and you just played a very excruciating overtime game. I'm going to go Prairie View A&M. The momentum here for Prairie View is massive, and let's just say, Bethune-Cookman by far was the best team in the SWAC conference, and Prairie View just went through them. Bethune-Cookman was 14-4 in the conference this year, 17-15 as a whole. Alabama A&M is not bad, but definitely Bethune was the better team. And I know, again, Prairie View and Alabama A&M have played earlier this year. They played in Prairie View, and Alabama A&M did win the game by 20 points. But that game is so long ago, it doesn't really matter anymore. That was January 27th. And right now, the run that the Panthers are on, 5 consecutive wins when it matters most, closing out the regular season with 3 consecutive victories over Jackson State, Alcorn State, and then a massive road victory over the team, obviously, Alabama A&M just beat in Texas Southern, and then back-to-back wins to kick off the SWAC tournament, Alcorn State, and then that huge victory over the team that I thought was going to win the SWAC, obviously, in the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. And the effort they have gotten as of late out of their leading scorer in Dante Horn has been phenomenal. Horn, a senior out of Memphis, Tennessee. This run so far in the SWAC tourney, hell, even beyond that, he closed the regular season with a 26-point performance against Texas Southern, and now in the SWAC tournament, 26 points against Alcorn State and 30 points in their last game 2 days ago, obviously unseating the number 1 seed in Bethune-Cookman. Horn's been great. This is his last year, obviously, of eligibility. Played 2 years ago with the Bobcats of Texas State, then played last year in Statesboro, Georgia for Georgia Southern. Averaged 6 points for Texas State, 5 points for Georgia Southern. Obviously comes to Prairie View, becomes the guy for this Panthers team. He now averages 20 points per game. There you go. He's been so great, though, in this tournament. I'd argue, he has to be the player of the tournament so far. Alabama A&M yesterday, again, survives, and that's just the name of the game at this point in March. It is win and survive, win and advance, and they had a massive day out of Corin Davis. Davis is the leading scorer for the Bulldogs this season, averaging 15 points per game. He puts up 24 in their victory yesterday against Texas Southern. Again, an OT win for Alabama A&M. Back and forth affair. It's a game that it looks, for the most part, that Texas Southern is going to win. Alabama A&M makes a push at the end of the game, sends it to overtime, and obviously ties it, and the Bulldogs completely just pull away in that overtime period, outscoring the Tigers 19-8. Again, Davis was their leading scorer, putting up 24 in the matchup in 33 minutes. Expect to see him again do a lot of the scoring tonight for this Alabama A&M Bulldogs squad. Alabama A&M closed the regular season, though, not on the highest note. They lost 3 of 4 going into the tournament. They lost at Bethune-Cookman. They lost a home game by 1 to the Hornets of Alabama State. They then beat Grambling at home and then lost at home to Southern, the Jaguars, by 3 points. And now they walk into this game here with Texas Southern. Obviously, the SWAC is now down to just 4 teams. On the opposite side of the bracket, you get Florida A&M and Southern. Again, we'll go over that more in full at the end of the video, obviously, because, again, every day we've been breaking down every single conference tournament. Again, we are almost to the point where we've seen every conference. Not until tomorrow, though, because the Ivy League special, and they just do Saturday, Sunday for their tournament, which I still don't understand. Like, at the very least, do Friday, Sunday. Give your teams a day off so you get the best versions of these teams. Whatever. Again, it's a 4-team bracket in the Ivy, and it's something else. But anyways, right, we are down to 4, and on the bottom side of the bracket, right, you get 2 versus 3, in A&M, Florida A&M, and Southern. That's expected. Top side of the bracket, both lower seeds advance, with the 8-seeded Prairie View A&M and the 5-seeded Alabama A&M Bulldogs. Here's the thing, though. I like Prairie View. I'm going to take Prairie View to win. 5 consecutive victories. Momentum is all theirs right now. And again, Bethune-Cookman is the best team they're going to see in the SWAC tourney. They've already seen the best team, and they beat them. I don't think Alabama A&M is going to phase them. And I know, again, the only time these two teams played in the regular season, Alabama A&M put a beatdown on Prairie View. It is what it is. I mean, again, happens. This is a much different team this time out. Again, it was January when that happened. We've seen 5 consecutive victories out of this Prairie View A&M team. And again, this is the best basketball they've played all year long. And they truly do have a difference maker in Dante Horn. I mean, Horn's had a game earlier this season where he scored 46 points. I mean, he is a dominant scorer. He is the leading scorer for this team. You put him alongside, A couple other guys in the rotation. Tayron Joseph has been non-existent in this tournament. He's only played 14 minutes in back-to-back games. He is coming off an injury, but again, has not been a big factor for this Panthers squad. Was averaging 19 points per game prior to his injuries. A senior at Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Again, he's back for this tournament, but obviously not at 100%. He plays 15 minutes. He's played 15 minutes in both these games so far. He's gone 1 for 7 and 1 for 6 shooting in both these games, respectively, though. So I don't know how much Tayron Joseph is going to, how much of an impact he's going to have on this game, but at least, again, they are trying to get him on the court. I have to give a lot of credit to Prairie View, man. I mean, that Bethune-Cookman game, both those teams are going, stride for stride. It is a competitive game throughout. It's just at the very end, the Panthers barely pull away. And they've just found ways to win. They beat Alcorn. They beat Bethune. I think they're going to get Alabama A&M as well. I do believe that extra day of rest is really impactful. We saw that in the Big Sky tournament. And sure, Idaho was playing in their home state, so obviously that contributed to their victory in that tournament too. But, I mean, that is real meaningful to get that day off. And that's why it's so important if you are a low seed, if you are a 7 or an 8, that this could have happened if the Florida A&M Rattlers had lost their game. If you're able to unseat one of the top 2 seeds in this format, in this tournament style, okay, you get the advantages of being that number 1 seed, because again, they're supposed to get that day off and they're supposed to be at 100% going into their second round matchup or to their semifinal matchup. So Prairie View gets those perks. I like them to straight up just go into this game and outscore Alabama A&M, and I'm telling you, Dante Horn is the deciding factor in this game. There's so much momentum on the side of the Prairie View A&M Panthers, and I believe they kick off our day with a big victory. Give me Prairie View money line at -115. Will they win the SWAC? I guess we will just see for that. Again, more on the SWAC tournament at the end of the video. On to our second best bet. Let's move to the Southeastern Conference, my favorite conference in all of college basketball. We've got an all-Tennessee showdown, obviously, between the Tennessee Volunteers and the Vanderbilt Commodores. I don't know how much of a home game this is going to feel like for Vandy, but it's going to be enough of a home game. We're going Vanderbilt. Okay, I will tell you, I'm not a hater of Vandy basketball. I don't think they're that good, but it is what it is. I think they'll have enough to beat Tennessee here because I watched Tennessee yesterday, and I will give Tennessee a lot of credit for coming back and beating Auburn, because they did the whole world a favor and the whole nation a favor by doing that. Because if Auburn had beaten Tennessee's still ranked, that would have 100% put Auburn in the tournament. Again, I don't see a world where they get in, but cha-ching, maybe they do. I don't know. But Tennessee wins the game 72-62. They play a disastrous first half, but at one point they go on, I think it's a 19-0 run against Auburn. Obviously, that just puts Auburn in the dirt, and Tennessee ultimately wins the game. I think they went from being down, 49-40 to 61-54. It was something absurd like that. And the Volunteers win the basketball game. How about Nate Ament, or Ament as people are calling him? But Nate Ament, 27 points on 4 of 6 from beyond the arc, 7 for 15 from the field. He was questionable going into the game. We didn't know at what condition Ament was in. Obviously, this is going to be a lottery pick and likely a top 10 pick in the NBA draft. If I have to say off the top of my head, I believe he's going to go 7th in the NBA draft. Again, we just don't know what teams are going to be picking, obviously, and how those things are going to fall. Regardless, though, Ament has a phenomenal game against Auburn. I understand you got Jacoby Gillespie, you got JP Estrella, Felix Akpara, some good players, obviously, on this Tennessee team. Foul trouble is a big deal with this squad. Obviously, Akpara finds himself in foul trouble. I feel like every single Tennessee game I watch, I see Akpara in foul trouble. Obviously, he's their big. We shall see how this one goes against Vandy, because both these teams split in the regular season. The game in Nashville was won by Tennessee. Competitive matchup. Neither team could really get going offensively. Tyler Nickel had an awful day from beyond the arc. Tennessee ultimately wins the game in Nashville by 4. They meet later in the season. It's the last game that Vandy's played up until this point. Obviously, final regular season game. And the Commodores win it by 4 in Knoxville. Super low scoring first half, but Vandy does outpace Tennessee in that first half, 32-22. Second half, there's a combined 114 points, but Vandy does enough to hang on to win the game ultimately by 4. They were plus 130 dogs going into the game. They come out victorious, and Vandy did not need to shoot the three-point ball at all in that Tennessee game. They attempted 10 threes against Tennessee, which is very unlike what Vanderbilt had been doing for most of the season. They were attacking the basket. They were forcing action. They were forcing contact, and again, they drew fouls all night long against this Tennessee team. You foul out both Bishop Oswell and Ethan Berg. Akpara goes into foul trouble as well, and ultimately, that's how you have to beat the Volunteers. That's not Vandy's style all the time, obviously. You know how much they want to, just shoot and throw up those long balls all game long, again, with Tyler Nickel, who has been very shaky in the last month, but at his best, yes, can be a very elite three-point shooter, not just in the SEC, but in college basketball. But again, he's been shooting very rough recently. Vandy attacks the basket against Tennessee, and they make it work. And again, they go into Knoxville and win the game outright. I have to imagine this is their second time trying to play Tennessee in Nashville. Again, it's still in the home state for the Volunteers, but by far this is the most anticipated matchup today in the Southeastern Conference. Yes, again, the Florida Gators make their debut in the SEC tourney, and you get those, the Oklahoma Cinderella run where if they beat Arkansas today, the Sooners are, very much definitely in the tournament. Bama, Ole Miss, who cares? I get it. There's some massive games. Obviously, Vanderbilt versus Tennessee in Nashville is by far the biggest game of the day. I got to assume there is going to be somewhat of a home crowd feeling for the Commodores. I'm sure, again, right, there are going to be Volunteers fans. Obviously, you saw them in the crowd yesterday. I got to imagine Tennessee is going to have a pretty good crowd coming out for this one, but I can't imagine it's going to be larger than, Vandy in their own home city. And if it is, well, then Vanderbilt ought to be ashamed of themselves. I think Vandy's got this one. It's not just, they're playing in Nashville. The crowd's going to be favored towards the Commodores. No, they figured out how to beat Tennessee. They struggled so much in that first game. Yeah, they went into halftime with the lead, but they could not get their offense flowing. It was a disastrous effort by the Commodores. It really felt like, other than Tyler Tanner, nobody could figure it out. It's not like Tanner had a great game either. They just couldn't score against that team. They just kept chucking up bad three after bad three. They don't ditch the three in the second Tennessee game, but they start attacking the basket, and if the three-point shot is there, obviously they go to it, but they really only took a select numbers of three-point shots. And yeah, they shot 50% from beyond the arc, but again, that's 5 for 10. But it was a great victory for the Commodores and much improved, obviously, compared to that first matchup where Nate Ament in the clutch killed him. Ament scores 13 points in the game. He goes 3 for 13 from the field. In the clutch minutes, in the final 2 minutes, Ament is driving to the hoop. He's finishing. He's drawing contact. He's grabbing, tough rebounds. Again, Jacoby Gillespie was the Volunteers' leading scorer in the first matchup in Nashville with 17. But it's that play in the final 3 minutes of the game from Ament, who, again, had done nothing up until that point, that ultimately sways it in favor of the Volunteers. It was absurd. And again, that's why people like Ament so much. And that's why Ament, yes, will be drafted likely in the top 10, at the very least the lottery this year in the NBA draft. Again, it's a loaded draft class. What can I say? So we'll see about Ament. Again, he had an amazing game yesterday against the Auburn Tigers. Again, the guard play is going to be massive on both sides. The experienced senior in Jacoby Gillespie, 2 years at Belmont, 1 year at Maryland, now obviously with the Volunteers. Gillespie has averaged 18 points per game this year, put up 15 in the win yesterday against Auburn. And then there is the facilitator and the driving force behind the Vanderbilt Commodores. Obviously, I'm talking about the sophomore and Tyler Tanner. Tanner, back-to-back games and 2 victories for the Commodores, both on the road in Oxford and Knoxville. 34 points against the Ole Miss Rebels, who again are still alive somehow in the SEC tournament, and 25 points against the Tennessee Volunteers on the road. I mean, what a year it's been for Tanner. Obviously, was just a bench player last season for the Commodores, averaging 6 points per game. He goes from 6 points in his freshman season to 19 points in his sophomore year. We'll see what Tyler Nickel does. Again, we're talking about Vanderbilt basketball. I need to at least mention, Nickel's name once. I don't know what we're going to see out the guy. Again, at his best, he is a lethal knockdown three-point shooter. He shoots 40% on the season, but this last month from him has been awful. We have seen games this season, though. Wake Forest, he shot 8 for 10 from beyond the arc. You've seen these games, and, 5 for 11 is a common number for Nickel. If he can give them just somewhat of a decent shooting night, it's going to be trouble for Tennessee because, again, I don't think that's where Vandy's going to be hunting all game long. They're not going to be sitting at the perimeter, for 40 minutes in this game. They are going to be attacking the basket, and if they need to draw to Nickel to the outside, then it's there. But Nickel's had such bad shooting nights. I mean, the last decent shooting night was on the 14th of February against the A&M Aggies. We'll see. Again, Vandy, they want to shoot a three-point ball. It's just, will they? Considering the last time they played Tennessee, they didn't need to and they won the contest. We shall see. Again, I think their best shot, draw contact, force you right to the free throw line. Again, Tennessee's a team that will foul you if you drive in on them. If you beat them to their spot, they are going to recover by fouling. I think it's a good spot for Vanderbilt. They're at home. We obviously know both teams are going to be in the tournament. Obviously, regardless, Tennessee yesterday picked up a momentum-building victory against the Auburn Tigers, which again benefited not just the SEC, well, not just Tennessee, but the entirety of America. I think Vanderbilt's going to be able to score more on Tennessee. Obviously, that goes without saying, but I do think offensively what Vanderbilt does is going to be too much for the Volunteers. If you do want to say too, I mean, Tennessee has lost 3 of 5 going into this game. Lost at Mizzou, lost at home to Bama, competitive game obviously that they blew a lead in. Won at SC, South Carolina, lost to Vanderbilt at home, and then obviously just won in the SEC tournament against Auburn. Vanderbilt closed their regular season winning 3 of 4 games, beating UGA at home, which, how good is Georgia? I don't know. The entire SEC is just all mid. They went to Lexington and lost to Kentucky, but then back-to-back wins on the road. Again, huge road victories, overtime victory at Ole Miss, and then a 4-point victory against their rivals again in Tennessee. Games in Nashville. I can't pick against the Commodores in this spot. I just need one game out of the Commodores, man. I mean, unlike North Carolina, who just screws us in every single game we've ever picked them in, I need Vandy to come through for us one time. I've bashed this team throughout the season, but I just need one performance tonight out of the Commodores. I think we're going to get it. Vandy at home in Nashville. They enter the SEC tournament -120 for Vanderbilt, beating their in-state rivals in the Tennessee Volunteers. On to our third best bet of the video, we move to the Big Ten. As we go to Chicago, Illinois in the United Center, here comes the top 4 seeds in the Big Ten tournament. Obviously, we're talking about the Nebraska Cornhuskers, who are the overall number 2 seed, the 1 seed Michigan Wolverines, the 3 seed Michigan State Spartans, and the 4 seed Illinois Fighting Illini. Purdue was a 7 seed in this tournament, and they beat Northwestern. Also, all high seeds won yesterday in this tournament. Ohio State won, Wisconsin won, and UCLA as well alongside Purdue. But now we get probably the best matchup today. Illinois-Wisconsin is going to be really good too. I just think the Fighting Illini are going to win that game. This is the one that I think a lot of people are up in the air about. I'm not going to pick a winner. If I had to, I think I'd go Nebraska. But I'm going to take the points here for the Cornhuskers. Guys, Purdue's not good. That is the number one thing I can say right off the bat about the Purdue Boilermakers. They are not that good. Oh, they beat Northwestern. Ooh, you did what Indiana couldn't. Who cares? Indiana sucks. Indiana should take their invite to the college basketball crown, but they're not going to do it because they're too prestigious of a program. Yeah, your prestigious program hasn't made the tournament in the last 3 seasons, so maybe you should go to the crown where you belong. Anyways, again, we're a football school, so who cares? But Purdue beats Northwestern. I don't care. This team was awful to close the regular season. Other than beating IU by 29 points because the Hoosiers suck, what did this team do to close their year? They went to Nebraska and won a game by 3 points that they almost choked. Good for you. Again, they survive in overtime. It is what it is. It's a whole new game, and as well, too, I mean, if we're counting points on that one, yeah, Nebraska would cover 4.5 in that game that was played, obviously, in Lincoln. Different scenario, different environment, I understand, but that is something to take note of. Anyways, Purdue closing out their year was just so bad. Home loss to Michigan by 11 points. I get it, Wolverines, top team in the country, obviously top team in the Big Ten, whatever. You beat the Hoosiers. My local high school team right now could probably beat the Indiana Hoosiers. You lose to Michigan State on your own home court. That's an embarrassing loss. I don't care. Yes, Michigan State's really good. I'm not denying that. Hell, I'm picking Michigan State to win the Big Ten tournament. I still think they're going to do that. But you needed that. You absolutely needed that game. You were still in line to get a number 1 seed, and obviously they completely fall straight on their face and lose the game by 2 points. Yes, again, they had a shot at the end of the game to win it. They forced a desperation heave from Braden Smith, which I still don't understand why teams do that. Like the Florida State shot yesterday, Florida State had a chance to beat Duke. They were down 1 point, and McCray chucks up a 3 from Narnia to try to win the game. You're down 1 point. Florida State beats Duke, by the way, yesterday. They're in the NCAA tournament. I don't care what anybody says. They would jump everybody in the bubble, in my opinion. They would. They're not even in the next 4 out, right? I don't care. If FSU had beaten Duke yesterday, no, you bump Texas for them immediately. By the way, how is Texas even a tournament team? How? They lost to Ole Miss in the first round of their tournament, and they lost to Oklahoma to close the season. How is Oklahoma not in over Texas? March matters. How you close your year matters. It's because Texas went to Tuscaloosa. That's why. But still, if I had to vote, Oklahoma's over Texas, in my opinion. They just played, and Oklahoma's winning in their tournament. And the same tournament, Texas lost to Ole Miss in. I don't care. Ole Miss beat Georgia. Whatever. The SEC sucks. What can I say? Anyways, Purdue loses that game in Michigan State. They then lose at Columbus to Ohio State. They barely get by Northwestern and Evanston by 4. They lose at home to Wisconsin. And you beat Northwestern again. Again, you suck. Purdue's not good. Braden Smith, I'm not going to bash Braden Smith. I think he's great. I know Braden Smith hasn't had the greatest scoring games recently. Obviously, he's still a premier playmaker. Held the guy at 16 assists yesterday against the Northwestern Wildcats. Shooting-wise, he goes 1 for 4 from beyond the arc, 2 for 8 from the field, only scoring 5 points. Again, the hustle's always going to be there out of Braden Smith, right? The mid-range shot should always be there, but the playmaking would undoubtedly always be there for him. They've looked for, Fletcher Lawyer, Oscar Clough had 19 and 10 yesterday, surprisingly, after he kind of saw himself just get his minutes cut in half, but Clough did perform pretty well yesterday. Did the Aussie, obviously, formerly of South Dakota State. Still, though, I'm not impressed by this Purdue team. I think they're just still a little bit stagnant. Defensively, they're not great. I mean, they're playing a team yesterday, obviously, Northwestern, that had one player. Obviously, we're talking about Martinelli, who unfortunately his career now comes to an end. Could Northwestern get an invite to the Crown? I'd argue they should. And I think Northwestern's the type of team that would accept that invite. Like, the invite that's going to go to Indiana, that should probably just end up in the hands of the Northwestern Wildcats, because they will actually try to play in March, unlike a certain team in Bloomington, Indiana. Nebraska, though, on the flip side, obviously, from Purdue, Nebraska winners in 4 out of their last 5 games. Beats Penn State, beats Maryland, goes to SC and wins, loses at UCLA. Nobody went to Pauley Pavilion this year, though, and won, except for somehow the Indiana Hoosiers in overtime. And then Nebraska, obviously, to close the regular season, gets their get back against Bennett Sturts and the Iowa Hawkeyes, beating them by 9. So, again, Purdue, second out of a back-to-back. Here comes Nebraska. Obviously, Nebraska, never supposed to be a big-time basketball school, but here we are. I mean, has Nebraska never won a game in the NCAA tournament? Is that a true stat? I feel like it is. Or no, I think they've never gotten out of the round of 32, I think it is. Still, they've never been past the first weekend of March Madness, which is crazy. I think this might be their year, but I don't know. I mean, not gonna lie to you, I could see Nebraska losing in the round of 32 this season. No, they're projected to play UNC in the second round, never mind. They'll go to the Sweet 16. Anyways, I think they beat Purdue. But if we're given points, we're going to take the points. I just don't see how Purdue's that much better than Nebraska. Again, talking about Nebraska Cornhuskers basketball, you're talking about Price Stanford. Stanford, obviously, phenomenal season, 18 points per game this year. Only had 9 and 15, 9 points against UCLA, 15 points against Iowa. You know what Nebraska is going to look to do at Stanford. They're going to obviously send an off-ball screen his way, and obviously he's going to come rolling off that screen. Boom. He's going to take a shot at the top of the key. Likely that's what they run for Stanford at least 25 times per game. Yes, he can drive to the basket, but it's that three-point shooting ability, and everything that Nebraska runs revolves around what Price Stanford specializes at. They need Stanford to have a good game. Last 2 games for him, again, have not been at the level that they're supposed to be. I have to imagine he's going to be better in a spot like this, where, again, Nebraska is the higher seed against Purdue. Purdue's a 7 seed in this tournament. Nebraska ought to play like they're a 2 seed. Yes, team that is higher than Michigan State in the tournament, higher than Illinois in the tournament. Now, again, I don't think tomorrow goes very well for them against Michigan State. I'll tell you that. I don't think it goes well at all. I think Michigan State's going to win this entire thing. Partially because I don't know if Michigan's going to beat Illinois. But still, maybe they will, but I think Michigan State on the 3rd attempt will beat the Wolverines. That's neither here or there, though. I like the Cornhuskers here. I do. I like the Huskers. First matchup, again, in Nebraska. Competitive-ass game. I understand. And I get it. Purdue was dominating that game for the most part, but Nebraska goes on the run in the second half. They draw, they take a lead in overtime with, 20 seconds to go, and obviously Oscar Clough had the and one to win the game. Nebraska didn't put a great 40 minutes together and obviously just found a way to close in that overtime period. I think if Nebraska doesn't have such a poor first half again, they should be fine. And if you remember that first game too, Price Stanford didn't play well. Stanford went 4 for 12 from the field, 2 for 9 from beyond the arc. It was Rink Mast who was their leading scorer. Mast had 18 points on 6 of 13 shooting in 34 minutes. And again, if Mast is able to continue to play that well, and yes, again, it was the 3-point shot on Mast, but if you're able to draw those centers out of the paint for Purdue, and those bigs out of the paint for Purdue, I'm talking Clough, Kaufman, Wren, Jacobson, whoever it's going to be in this game, it makes Nebraska a whole lot dangerous because obviously that opens up, driving lanes to the paint. It opens up everything else, again, if their bigs are hitting shots. And it really all starts and ends with both Rink Mast and Price Stanford, in my opinion. I think Nebraska is going to cover the points here. Again, neutral site game in Chicago. I understand, much closer trip for the Indy. Is it? I've never been to Nebraska. I don't know the logistics on that. Again, I know it's about from West Lafayette's about a 4-hour, 3.5-hour drive from West Lafayette at Chicago. Again, Purdue fans are going to show up. Nebraska fans, again, it's not a basketball school, so we'll see how in tune they are to the Big Ten tournament. But regardless of all of that, I do believe the Huskers are able to cover the points. Coming off that massive overtime victory against Iowa to close their regular season. Purdue just had to play yesterday, and they beat Northwestern. But again, it's A, Northwestern, and B, okay, Purdue has not played good basketball in a very long time. Their only 2 wins in a while are Northwestern since the Indiana game. So I'm going to go with the Huskers to cover the points. We don't even need them to win, even though I do believe the money line at plus 145 is definitely playable for Nebraska. We're taking the plus 4.5 points for the Huskers in Chicago against the Purdue Boilermakers. On now to our 4th best bet of the video, we move to the Atlantic 10 Conference. Yes, we're going to give the A10 some love now. We are not going to be talking about VCU's game today. Obviously, VCU, I believe, is in a win and in situation today. All they have to do is beat Duquesne, who came off a victory yesterday against the Rhode Island Rams. VCU wins today. They're in the NCAA tournament. The winner of this game will be playing the winner of VCU and Duquesne. Obviously, we're talking about the St. Joseph Hawks. Can't wait for the mascot to be in the corner all game long, just flapping his wings nonstop the entire game, taking on Steph Curry's school, obviously, in the Davidson Wildcats. Even money game, kind of. Slight favorites are St. Joseph's against Davidson. I'm going to go minus 125 for the Hawks here. I love this spot. Absolutely love it for St. Joseph's. They've been playing better basketball down the stretch of the season. We just saw these two teams play recently at Davidson, and it was a victory for St. Joseph's. They went to North Carolina and won the game 70-67. I know that doesn't tell the entire story, but St. Joseph's has been playing great basketball down the stretch, and I believe it continues tonight. St. Joseph's hasn't lost a game in a minute. Their last loss came at home, surprisingly, against Fordham, but that was back on February 10th. Since then, it's been nothing but victories for this team, make it now 6 in a row, beating St. Bonaventure, beating Loyola Chicago, beating the Patriots of George Mason, beating URI, going to Davidson and winning and closing their regular season against LaSalle. And it hasn't always been one score, and that's just how, St. Joseph's is. They don't have just one guy who's going to go out there and give you 30 plus a night. I mean, they have it's a lineup that is, designed for, multiple double-digit scores, and that's what they've just gotten in their last couple games. The leading scorer on the year is still Jaden Glover-Tisano, who averages 16 points per game and did put up 23 against Davidson in their last encounter. But still, Justice Ajibor was their leading scorer in their last game with 20. He's their center out of Nigeria, averages 6 points per game, explodes for 20. You just get random scoring nights. And in this winning streak, one game, Desir Haskins leads them in scoring with 14. He averages 12 points per game. It's Derek Simpson, another game with 23 points. It's a lot of randomness out of the St. Joseph's team, but I will say this, again, every player is somewhat consistent to the point where, the guys that they expect to score double digits are going to give them double-digit points. It's just who's going to be the guy to explode to give you 20 plus, and who's the guy that's going to make the difference for this team. Obviously, this is now the second out of a back-to-back for the Davidson Wildcats as they played yesterday, and they were successful in their effort, obviously, 2 days ago, against Loyola Chicago. Again, good win that was yesterday. Loyola Chicago obviously beat Richmond 2 days ago. Good victory. Again, it's what you expect. You're supposed to beat Loyola Chicago, and I don't know if the Ramblers just all of a sudden found their magic because it turned March, but I don't know. Not a great win for Davidson. A win is a win. And again, that's all. I always say this in March. It is win in advance. That's all I can ask out of a team. But you're taking the Ramblers to overtime. And it's just, Davidson played so poorly in that first half. They scored 19 points. And luckily for them, it was a defensive battle in that first half. And Loyola Chicago only scored 24 points. But you're scoring 19 points in the first half against the Loyola Chicago Ramblers. And that overtime period, so again, this is how this goes. Davidson gets outscored in the first half 24-19. They then outscore the Ramblers 37-32 in the second half. And they get into overtime. And Loyola Chicago scores 3 points in the OT period. That's it. 3 points. I don't know what to say. Again, that's all they did. I think it was a late 3 too. Yeah, it was a late 3 points. They did it. I think they scored with a minute left in the game. But Davidson can barely score either. It was a bad basketball game. If St. Joseph's is able to put any bit of pressure on this Wildcats team, they're going to win. Because yesterday, again, Davidson found themselves trailing Loyola Chicago more than they were winning. Majority of that game was, Loyola Chicago's on top. Can Davidson draw back into this game? Obviously, again, the A10, it's a 2-bid conference. Actually, it could be a 3-bid. See, that's the thing, okay? This does have the chance to be a 3-bid conference. This is what we talk about all the time with the Mountain West. But again, it's because of VCU being on the bubble. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but we know St. Joseph's is going to be in the tournament. I know they slipped up a little bit at the end of the season, but St. Louis, did I say St. Joseph's? St. Louis is a 10 seed for now. I mean, again, I don't think they drop below a 10. They're in my opinion. I don't know how they wouldn't be personally. I think they're in. So regardless of that, though, right? They could lose in the championship game, and that's not going to affect them, obviously, getting into the tournament. VCU say they beat Duquesne today, and let's just say, okay, St. Joseph gets them next or tomorrow. Well, then, okay, VCU's in, say St. Louis makes the championship game, and then St. Joseph just beats St. Louis. Then you're looking at a 3-bid A10. Just like how the Mountain West could get that, obviously, with the massive matchup that we're going to talk about in a little bit with San Diego State and New Mexico. The winner of that game's in the tournament, but then, okay, what if Nevada beats Utah State today, and now, say, Nevada beats New Mexico or San Diego State tomorrow, and then you get 3 teams in on the Mountain West? Because we haven't seen a bid stealer yet, except for, I guess, the Max now a bid stealer. Whoever wins it, it's probably going to be Akron, even though they, almost choked yesterday against those Buffalo Bulls. We shall see. We haven't seen a true bid stealer yet. It's got to come eventually. And again, the 2 biggest ones to the point where, the A10 and Mountain West could still easily wind up with, I don't know if I want to say easily, they could both wind up with 3 teams in the tournament. I think it's a lot easier personally for the A10 because you're not relying on the Nevada Wolfpack, and that's what the Mountain West is doing. They are simply just relying on Nevada to get them a 3rd team. But we shall see. We know the Mountain West at the very least is getting 2, though, because of, again, the matchup we have in a little bit. Regardless, though, we get this matchup today, right now with Davidson and St. Joseph's. St. Joseph's isn't going to play that poorly early. I think they just put a lot of pressure on Davidson to start this game, and I don't know what the Wildcats really have for this team. I'll be honest with you. I don't think they can keep up scoring-wise with the St. Joseph's team. These 2 teams met twice in the regular season, and Davidson did with the first matchup. They won it at St. Joseph's. It was back on January 3rd. It's a long time ago. Low-scoring game. As long as St. Joseph's plays their style, they play at their pace, I don't think they're going to be too concerned with this matchup. Davidson led in scoring on the year by Robert Blums. Blums averages 12 points per game. Then you got Josh Scovins, who averages 11, and Parker Fredrickson, who also averages 11 points per game. Again, it's not a high-scoring team. I believe Blums led them in scoring. He's their Latvian guard. I believe he led them in scoring yesterday against the Ramblers with only 14 points. Scovins averages 11 a game. This is his 3rd season. Obviously, was very good last year for the Army Black Knights, and somehow just, leaves Army to go play at Davidson. Sure, why not? I remember back a couple of years ago, you couldn't do that. And then Fredrickson, obviously, former Wake Forest guy, now averaging 11 points per game for Davidson as well. They play relatively small, but it is what it is. They're a good defensive team, I will say. I just think St. Joseph's will be able to crack them. I do think they're able to find ways to score against this squad. I obviously don't think this Davidson team is unbeatable. They looked like crap yesterday. And sure, you can say, well, they were just getting, they were knocking off the rust going into that matchup against Loyola Chicago, but I don't care. The Ramblers won their first round matchup in this tournament. You're expected to smash that team, and Davidson needed a big time comeback to get, well, not a big time comeback, but they needed to stay within that, striking range distance for the longest time in that game, and they needed a low scoring overtime. I just don't love it. I think St. Joseph's is in a really good spot to win this game. Again, you don't know which individual member of this team is going to explode for 20 plus points, but I can tell you again, Tisano and all those guys, they're going to all put up double digits. It's just, okay, who exceeds that margin and who really puts it on you from there. So I'm going to go with the St. Joseph's Hawks to win this game. Obviously in the A10 tournament in Pittsburgh quarterfinal matchup, I'm taking St. Joseph's to advance to the next round where, again, the Hawks now find themselves only 2 games away from the NCAA tournament with the victory today. We shall see, but likely a matchup with the VCU Rams is in their near future tomorrow. By the way, why is this game on CNBC? Is that not a news station? It is, right? Or it's like, this is like NBC's Fox Business, is it not? Why is the game on CNBC? I've never seen this before. I don't think there's ever been a game on CNBC. I don't think. I thought the A10 was always on USA Network and CBS Sports Network. I don't know. This is the first. Anyways, give me the St. Joseph's Hawks and their mascot, which, again, flaps his wings all game long. Next up, our final best bet of the video before our tournament previews, we go to the Mountain West, as it is a must-win game for both teams. This is as good as you're going to get. It's that simple. This is as good as you're going to get. The winner of this game, obviously, tomorrow is going to get a chance to play for the Mountain West Championship, and they will have a chance to avoid Dayton, Ohio in the first 4 in all. The loser of this game tonight, though, and the winner regardless should be in. Maybe you're going to have to play in Dayton, Ohio. But the loser of this game, well, you're going to Vegas. You're playing in the college basketball crown, or you're going to get a chance to win the NIT. One of the two. I don't know which do teams rather want, the NIT or the Crown. I think it would be the Crown, right? There's more money in the Crown, I think. Whatever. It's as simple as that. Win and you're in, lose and you go home. New Mexico versus San Diego State. You know what? We're going to give it one more shot with New Mexico. Oh boy. New Mexico has just been one of these teams this year where we pick them and they lose and they look horrible, and we pick against them and they win. We're going to take them tonight. I'm going to take them. I didn't love the San Jose State first half. I cannot lie to you. They've closed the first half really well. I mean, that first half. Colby Garland had San Jose State in that game early. As the Spartans, again, at 9-24 in the regular season, look to piece together back-to-back victories. I mean, San Jose State's winning in that game 16 minutes into it against a high-scoring New Mexico team. Now, the Lobos, obviously, or San Jose State's not able to keep up that pace in the Lobos, obviously, for 40 minutes, and New Mexico ends up winning the game by 16, 93-77. But didn't love the first half effort out of New Mexico, I cannot lie to you. But now they get San Diego State, who, again, I don't think played that well yesterday. They win. Just kind of a ho-hum performance. SDSU, not the best three-point shooting team, but yeah, they were miserable from beyond the arc yesterday. They went 1 for 11 from the three-point line, shot 48% from the field, forced their way to the free throw line like crazy, and shot horribly at it. 22 for 42 from the free throw line for San Diego State. Something about Mountain West refs, man. They love blowing that whistle. What can I say? 42 free throws is absurd for San Diego State. Let me get the exact number of free throws that the Nevada Wolfpack and Grand Canyon Lopes shot yesterday, because I don't think I've ever seen anything like it, and I've watched East Texas A&M Commerce versus Hawaii before. Let me get the exact number of free throws shot in that game. That was a combined, it wasn't 90, I thought it was 90. A combined 86 free throws were shot in that game. Nevada shot 45, GCU shot 41. So honestly, SDSU's right on par. They shot 42. What is up with these Mountain West refs loving the whistles all game long? And it's like it is the least marginal contact ever. It is just, it is the most ticky-tacky, you barely run into a guy, oh, foul. It's crazy. Anyways, I'm taking New Mexico to beat San Diego State because I think New Mexico is going to be able to shoot over all of this. I think. I'm putting a lot of trust into Hall, man. I'm putting a lot of trust into Jake Hall. I believe Jake Hall's phenomenal. He has a great game yesterday, 5 for 6 from beyond the arc, 19 points. I need more of this game, which sounds crazy, but I do think we need Jake Hall to shoot more than a three-pointer, which we know he's capable of, but yesterday, that's the only shot he took, basically. He just shot threes all game long, and it worked. But again, you got it. Yesterday, New Mexico had a pretty clear advantage. Obviously, that's with the bigs. San Jose State's been without their starting center in Yafet Mundi all year long, so they've gone to Sajdik Ganga. And Ganga's a good player, but obviously Tomislav Bujan is obviously way better. So when New Mexico figured it out, basically 15 minutes into the game, oh wait, our center's way better than their center. They just kept feeding Bujan all game long, and he scored 25 points on 10 of 11 from the field and 5 for 5 from the free throw line and 14 rebounds. So again, I'll give New Mexico a lot of credit there. They figured out, oh wait, we have a clear advantage here. We're going to keep going to it. And they didn't need Jake Hall to give him a Herculean effort. Now, when they kicked the ball out to Jake Hall, he was there. Obviously, 19 points, 6 of 8 from the field, 5 of 6 from the three-point line. Allberry had 13, Haupt had 15, Tannett had 8, whatever. Scholl had 9 off the bench. Okay. They still find a way to score 93 points. I do believe, again, the big play or the center play is going to be, it's going to be a big storyline in this game, because that's, we know Jake Hall is going to score. And I said, again, to open this, I need Jake Hall to give us 30, or I need him to just take over. I need more than just 19 points. Really, though, this team is going to go as far as Bujan can take them. And again, this is a must-win spot for both teams, because the loser of this game's out. The winner is in, and now you're playing, the winner of this game's in at the very least for the first 4, and then tomorrow you get to play it for, we get the potential luxury of getting to skip the first 4, and we get to go straight to the NCAA tournament. The big matchup tonight, though, again, is going to be Tomislav Bujan and Miles Heide. I think Bujan can win it. Miles Heidi's out there just for his defense. He's a little undersized, but doesn't play the entire game, but is there for defensive purposes only. He's not going to score. He's a 6'9" center for San Diego State. He's there to play defense. He's a defensive big. He's all right, I'll tell you that. That's the matchup to watch. If Bujan can back down Heide and have success against Heide, I think we're going to be okay. Because that's the driving force in New Mexico. If Bujan's a problem, then, it creates an even bigger problem when, Bujan's in the paint, he's in the post, he's finishing with his little hook shots, and now, we have the best shooter, you could argue, in the Mountain West, definitely, in Jake Hall, true freshman, by the way, just unloading the threes consistently. These two teams split in the regular season. The Lobos won at the Pit. San Diego State won at Viejas. At SDSU, 83-79 victory for the Aztecs. In the Pit in New Mexico, 81-76 victory for the Lobos. Both these teams were very competitive, but I think it's more important to look at their last matchup, which was won by the Lobos. 81-76 for New Mexico. Again, a really big game out of Bujelon. Bujelon scores 24. I feel like every game that I bet on him, he disappears, but he dominates against SDSU. SDSU decides in that game, okay, we have to go small, essentially, because Miles Heide basically fouls his way out of that game. Heide picks up 4 fouls, and they have to, in quick fouls at that, too. So SDSU had to adjust, go a little bit small. They end up doubling with Tay Simmons, mostly, against Bujelon. It doesn't really work, as Bujelon, again, scores 24 points in that game. It's one of the better games he's had all season. 24-18. I gotta think he's gonna be that driving factor tonight. I gotta believe New Mexico is going to be able to consistently go to him. Jake Hall had an okay game in the last matchup in the Pit against the Aztecs. He scored 14. Again, you'd like a little bit more. The efficiency wasn't the best either. But again, this game's all Bujelon. Bujelon had 24-18 in their last matchup. Why wouldn't, I'm not telling you he's going to put up exactly 24-18 again, but why wouldn't he be able to put up big time numbers again against this team? If you want to look at the first matchup at Viejas, Bujelon has a really good game as well. Bujelon 20-14. His team loses by 4 because they get off to an ice cold start, and San Diego State was raining, not threes, but they were just consistently scoring, and they got to the free throw line a million times in that first matchup, and they outscored the Lobos by 13 points, 48-35 in that first half. But the second half, New Mexico is, getting back in that game. They fall short, but again, it's all Bujelon as well. I like the spot for the Lobos, man. I really do. I like it for New Mexico. I think they win this game. I think they're more talented. I think they are. I mean, San Diego State, who's your best scorer on San Diego State? Miles Bird? It has to be, right? Miles Bird is their best guy. Is it Dixon Waters? I think it's Miles Bird. When I watch this team, I'm more impressed with Miles Bird than anybody else in the squad. Again, BJ Davis averages 11. Reese Dixon Waters does average 13. He's a senior, I get it. But Miles Bird's the guy for me on this squad. He facilitates the offense. He's able to take it himself as well if you need to, right? Junior, but his 4th season at SDSU. He's played a lot of games for this team. Started the last 60 exactly for the Aztecs. I'm just going to go with New Mexico here, though. I'm going to go with the Lobos. I think the Lobos take it. I think Jake Hall, again, has a good game where, plays solid enough when his number is called. Because, again, Bujelon can pass out of that post. I got to assume the Aztecs are going to crowd the post as soon as they feed it down to Bujelon, because it's already been seen. Miles Heide's a good defensive player, but we've seen it before. He can't stop Bujelon without fouling him. And Bujelon, again, if he goes back to the basket, backs you down, short hook, short post shot, there's no way of stopping that. If you can't get a hand in his face and you can't block him. Again, we've seen other bigs like Boise with Fielder played phenomenally well against Bujelon. SDSU, again, Heidi's a good defender, but he's undersized for the center position, and Bujelon can back him down. So I got to expect SDSU is going to double because, again, the only way Heide saw success it wasn't success, but the only way Heide somewhat contained Bujelon in the first 2 games was by fouling him. I'm going to go New Mexico. They have better perimeter scores. Defensively speaking, they're about even in my opinion. I think the big play is the difference, and the big play to me is better on New Mexico. Again, winner is in the NCAA tournament. Loser is out. It is a massive game. I'm going with the New Mexico Lobos to advance the NCAA tournament again, and they'll get a chance again to avoid Dayton tomorrow by taking on the winner of Utah State and Nevada. More on that in just a few minutes. But again, for our final best bet of the video, we're going to go with the Lobos winning in the rubber match against the San Diego State Aztecs, plus 100 for the Lobos. They will be going dancing in March once more, even without Pitino at the helm. Okay, that does it for all of the best bets, but now we have a lot of conference tournaments to go over. There, again, is a lot. So let's get into it. The first of many as we kick things off in, there we go, the Atlantic 10. So we already talked about earlier, St. Joseph's taking on Davidson, obviously with the Hawks. We think the Hawks are going to beat the Davidson Wildcats. And then VCU Duquesne, I think the Rams are going to win. And I believe the VCU Rams are going to advance to the NCAA tournament. And obviously the semifinals as well against St. Joseph's. But win and in, it feels like for VCU, they'll get that victory. Dayton versus St. Bonaventure. The Bonnies beat George Mason. What a disappointing end of the year for George Mason. I thought, again, they've already beaten St. Bonaventure. Even at George Mason's lowest this year, they still beat the Bonnies. Nope, they lose. Can the Bonnies make it 3 in a row after beating LaSalle, beating George Mason? Can they get Dayton? I think they'll cover, but they're not going to win. St. Louis GW. watch out for GW. That's all I'll say. GW is a sneaky decent team. St. Louis is not playing their best basketball right now. They're definitely in the tournament already. Watch out for GW to put them on upset alert tonight. I'm going to go St. Louis to win, but I believe GW is going to cover the points. Next up, the Big Ten. We are down to 8. Obviously, Michigan versus Ohio State. Buckeyes win yesterday against the Hawkeyes. I think Ohio State covers. I think we see the cracks today out of Michigan. I don't think the Wolverines are going to be playing the hottest ball in this tournament. I think Ohio State covers, Michigan wins. Watch out for tomorrow against the Fighting Illini. Illinois, Wisconsin. Illinois wins. They dominate, in my opinion. Wisconsin plays too close of a game against UW. They let Washington back in that game too many times. I mean, there were so many times where I thought, okay, the Huskies are done, and no. 2 minutes later, they're back within 5. They're back within 3. Don't love that at all from the Badgers. Illinois should take care of business. Obviously, both are tournament teams. Nebraska, Purdue, already talked about it. I'm taking Nebraska to cover, but at the same time, I do believe they will win that game. Michigan State, UCLA. Donovan Dent played one hell of a game yesterday against Rutgers, but come on. Michigan State will be able to clean up against UCLA, especially not over at Pauley Pavilion, where UCLA has been great all year long. Neutral sites in Chicago. Michigan State should win the game. I still believe the Spartans, in my opinion, are winning the Big Ten. Will they win the NCAA tournament? No, but I think they can win these 3 games and take home the Big Ten title. Next up, CUSA. Chaos bracket, man. I mean, oh man, Missouri State versus La Tech. So I will tell you, I got really close to putting that in the video today. Missouri State's at plus money today. And again, like we talked about in the Big Sky and the SWAC, they now have the perks of being the number 1 seed. They upset the number 1 seed in Liberty. They had to play on back-to-back nights against FIU and the Flames. They take down the Flames, and now they get a day of rest going into their matchup against La Tech. They're going to beat La Tech. I wasn't confident enough to put it in the video. I got really close. It's an early morning game, I believe, at 9 a.m. I'm going Missouri State to advance to the final. Give me Big Mike, Keith Palick and company. Yeah, I think Missouri State goes to the CUSA championship game tomorrow night. Sam Houston versus Kennesaw State. Give me Kennesaw. Kennesaw WKU, again, I was very split in that game. I literally flipped a coin or flipped a card for that game just because I had no idea. Like, I know both those teams do really well. They both score a lot, but they've both been really 50-50 and questionable as of late. Kennesaw versus Sam Houston, stylistically, it's a great matchup for Kennesaw State. Sam Houston, they try to get out and run. They've had a little bit of trouble doing that recently. Kennesaw is going to push a pace on this team. Kennesaw is going to beat Sam Houston. I'm starting to believe Kennesaw, despite their best player being kicked off the team and suspended and likely going to federal prison for gambling and point shaving on his own props and own games, I think Kennesaw is going to the NCAA tournament again this year, which is crazy. Or they're going to the tournament this year. I mean, this is a team that used to be a bottom feeder that just kept getting beat down in the ASUN every single year to now being competitive and potentially winning the CUSA. It's crazy. Again, the elite mid-major teams that we'd seen all year long and number 1 seeds in all these mid-major tournaments continue to lose. And that's why we're getting potentially Big Mike and Missouri State into the NCAA tournament. I think it'll be Kennesaw, but we're going to go Kennesaw and Missouri State, the 2 lower seeds, to win today in the Conference USA. Next up, the SEC, down to 8. Florida, Kentucky. The Wildcats beat Mizzou yesterday. Florida is by far the best team in this thing. Give me the Gators. Vandy, Tennessee. We're taking Vandy at home in Nashville. Bama, Ole Miss. Bama should clean up on Ole Miss, something that Georgia and Texas both failed to do. Bama by 15, probably more. Arkansas, Oklahoma. Going Oklahoma. Guys, the way this team's playing right now, I was not convinced, obviously, after the South Carolina game because the Gamecocks aren't very good, and Oklahoma was projected to win that game. But the late season success, you closed the regular season beating Texas, you then beat A&M, and don't just beat A&M, you beat them by 20 points. Now they get Arkansas. Guys, Arkansas's in the tourney. Oklahoma needs this to get in. I'm going Sooners to upset Arkansas. I think Oklahoma will see Alabama tomorrow in the semifinals. On to the AAC, or the American Conference. We are down to 6. High seeds both win yesterday as both Charlotte and North Texas enter the tournament. They will now move on as Charlotte beats Tulane, North Texas beats Florida Atlantic. Now we get UAB versus Charlotte and Tulsa versus UNT. Going high seeds again, I think UAB beats Charlotte and I think Tulsa beats North Texas before potentially high seeds winning again in the semifinals. Give me 4 and 3 today though in the American. Next up, the SWAC. We've already talked about one of the SWAC games. We're taking the 8 seed and we're riding the 8 seed in the Prairie View A&M Panthers all the way to the championship game tomorrow in the SWAC tournament. Florida A&M versus Southern. I like the Rattlers. Again, Florida A&M got the rest yesterday. Southern had to play yesterday, beating the Arkansas Pine Bluff Lions. I'm going with the Rattlers to advance, giving us an 8 versus 2 championship game between Prairie View A&M and Florida A&M. Next conference we go to is the Mid-American. Unfortunately, Miami's out. Yeah, it sucks. They have to be in the tournament. It'd be a damn disgrace if they don't. So now we're likely looking at a 2-bid MAC. Again, Miami needs to absolutely get in. UMass Toledo, I'm going UMass. UMass isn't bad. I mean, UMass, guys, both times UMass played Miami in the regular season, they took them down to the wire in both those games. And Miami, even though Miami every single game this year missed a clutch free throw to potentially put the game away, and they would just go on the other side and get that game-ending stop. But UMass played Miami so competitively in back-to-back games, they're going to beat Toledo, guys. Toledo's not bad. They barely got by Bowling Green yesterday. I'm going UMass beating Toledo. Akron versus Kent State. Akron, I don't love how they closed against Buffalo. Buffalo goes on an 11-0 run, cuts the lead to 3. I think they got it down to 1 at one point. Akron wins the game, though, and barely survives. They've beat up on Kent all year long. Kent's a good team. Doreko Gillespie and company. It's a really good team at Kent State. Akron's better, and likely, I think Akron, again, ends the Cinderella story of the 8-seeded UMass Minutemen, but that's a story for tomorrow. As for now, I'm taking the Zips to win, and I am going to ride again with the Minutemen, or for the first time today, with the Minutemen. Next up, Big East. I told you Georgetown was beating Villanova. Boom. Told you. This is where the rain's gonna come, or this is where the run's gonna come to an end. I hope they beat UConn, man. Georgetown is 2 games away from the tournament. I mean, what was the regular season record? 16-17. Really, well, regular season 14-17. They can win 2 more games and get into the tourney. I hope it happens. I'm really hoping Georgetown gets into the dance. They're not going to though. I hope they beat UConn. Maybe, but UConn just looked so dominant yesterday against Xavier. I can't imagine Georgetown has a chance today. I'm cheering for the Hoyas. Well, even though we picked UConn to win the Big East. I'm split. No, we kind of need UConn to win, but I wouldn't mind if Georgetown won. UConn's going to beat them, though. The run comes to an end. St. John's, Seton Hall, St. John's. We'll get the matchup we want. Madison Square Garden, St. John's, UConn Part 3. UConn probably blows them out, but whatever. We'll see. Next up, we go to the MEAC, this confusing-ass conference. SC State beats Norfolk State, with Norfolk being at home in Norfolk. So SC State advances to take on Howard, and then Delaware State versus NC Central. I'm going to go, Maryland Shore's winning a lot in that game, too. They lost in overtime. I'm going Delaware State to upset NC Central. I'm going to go South Carolina State to upset Howard. It's just what we've seen this year out of the HBCUs, just these random and crazy upsets. So I'm going to go Delaware State. I'm going South Carolina State. We're going to see an ass team in the championship, or winning the championship. At this point, I hope Delaware State makes the NCAA tournament because they'll be 10-22 if they win the entire thing. Obviously, the entire thing, what I'm talking about is the MEAC, so we shall see. Next up, Big 12 down to 4. Arizona beats UCF. Iowa State beats Texas Tech. Arizona, Iowa State today. I got to go Arizona. Just how those two teams match up. I like the Wildcats more. I know there's a lot of hype right now in Iowa State because of this tournament run they've gone through so far. Blowing out ASU, coming in blowing out Texas Tech. Obviously no JT Toppin with the Red Raiders. Give that team a lot of credit. Arizona cleans it up today though. Houston, Kansas. Kansas will cover. Houston likely wins. It's a different game in the NCAA tournament. I don't know how motivated this Kansas team is right now. Let's just be honest. Darren Peterson is always a question of how motivated he is. Brigham Young was competitive yesterday in the first half against Houston, but I think Kansas ultimately loses against the Wildcats today. The Cougars, my goodness. However, Kansas covers. There you go. Likely Arizona-Houston finals, in my opinion. ACC down to 4. Duke, Clemson. Game's not going to be close. Duke blows out Clemson. Clemson played well, but horrible second half against North Carolina. They caught fire again late in that first half. Duke's going to beat the Tigers today. Virginia, Miami. Shout out to Miami for winning yesterday. I think they play a very competitive game today. I think Virginia. I don't know. Actually, I'm going to go Miami. I'm going to go Miami to beat Virginia. They've got momentum. Virginia is ranked 10th in the country. Are they really the number 10 team in the entire world of college basketball right now, though? Probably not. I like Miami to win outright. Again, if you're going to bet on it, take the points. Give me Miami-Duke, though, in the ACC title game tomorrow. WAC time. Again, this goofy-ass conference. We're down to 4. UT Arlington versus Utah Valley. Yes, Utah Valley paid up the $1 million to the WAC, so now they get to play the 4-seeded UT Arlington, who just beat Southern Utah yesterday. Utah Valley's winning this entire thing. What can I say? I mean, again, that's why it was crazy they needed to pay all that money, because if they didn't pay it, then the WAC was going to lose their best team. Cal Baptist is good, though, I will tell you. I do think the Lancers are really good at a Cal Baptist. We've talked about them a lot this season. They will beat Utah Tech. And I will say tomorrow, Baptist has a shot to beat Utah Valley, 100%. I would still expect, though, the Wolverines to win the entire thing. But again, don't completely count out those Lancers from Cal Baptist. Big West. I really wanted to do Hawaii, Cal State, Fullerton today. I just like some games better than that. Give me Fullerton plus 3.5. Absolutely love it. I think they went outright. They played a really competitive game recently in Fullerton. Hawaii barely got by, again, with late game shenanigans from Dre Bullock. Hawaii in the States, not very good. Sorry, in the continental United States, obviously not island where all the games are rigged. I like Fullerton to beat Hawaii. Hawaii was awful to close the regular season. They lost to the beach of Long Beach State in Honolulu. I like Fullerton. They struggled in the first half against Davis. First 10, 15 minutes against Davis. Really found their offense late. They will put it on Hawaii. Trust me. Fullerton wins outright. UCI, CSUN. That's the matchup UCI wants, I think. They'll be able to completely shut down that Northridge offense. Last game out between UCI and Northridge was in Northridge. UCI won with the game-winning layup off an inbound as time expired. That was the game, though, at CSUN. It was a game that Irvine controlled for 90% of it. CSUN went on a late run to take the lead. Irvine wins. I know, again, CSUN had a lot of turnovers in that game, but that's what Irvine's going to do to you. Phenomenal defensive team. They're winning the Big West. I really don't have any... I'm really just 100%, I'm very confident in that. I don't have any doubts they're not going to win the Big West. UCI wins, and I think Fullerton wins. We're going to get UCI and Fullerton tomorrow in the Big West title game. Closing things out, the Mountain West. Again, San Diego State, New Mexico State. We're taking the Lobos to advance the championship and, of course, punching their ticket into the NCAA tournament. Utah State versus Nevada. I like Utah State. Nevada had, again, every single free throw and every single call go their way yesterday against Grand Canyon. Shout out to you for winning. Utah State's the better basketball team. They completely took care of business yesterday against the UNLV Rebels in Vegas. Yeah, Utah State, well, not like UNLV is a big fan base anyways, but I'm going to take Utah State to beat Nevada, and I'm going to take San Diego State to lose to New Mexico, giving us New Mexico, Utah State tomorrow. Both teams will be into the tournament. It might mean a little bit more, however, though, tomorrow for the Lobos. And folks, that does it for our 5 best bets and all of our tournament previews here for our college basketball best bets on March 13th. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back tomorrow for more daily college basketball best bets. Folks, thank y'all for watching and tournament previews. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.